Hello, I'm Zeke, and welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania. The guest I have today is an attorney at Pfizer in their pharmaceutical and biotechnology space. He helps to develop policy for artificial intelligence, and he is currently serving as chairperson for the Democratic Committee of Lower Marion and Narberth. Thank you so much for being here, Jeffrey Scott. I'm Zeke, a doctor, a Pennsylvanian, and an unapologetic supporter of democratic values. You might have seen me on social media working my ass off for Democrats and meeting some pretty amazing people along the way, like President Barack Obama and Governor Josh Shapiro. For years, I've knocked thousands of doors all over Pennsylvania and poured my heart and soul into supporting candidates and causes that make a difference, from local school board races to national elections. The personal is political, and I take every election in Pennsylvania personally. Where the mainstream media has failed you, I will give you truth and independence. You'll hear from Democratic leaders, candidates, and changemakers who are working to improve the health of the Commonwealth, and it won't be boring as hell. No matter where you are, I'll meet you with hope and a plan to make your community better one day at a time. Welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Zeke. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you, too. I apologize if I sound a little hoarse. I'm just getting over something bad. My whole family just ran through everyone. So I'm on the mend. I'm doing better.
That happens, it's that time of year, and like you, I have little kids, and are getting older every day. But once those sicknesses kind of run through the school, it's inevitable. Everyone's gonna get them. Yeah,
I know. It's terrible. What kind of a sick person are you? I can tell you I'm a moaner. Just until the meds kick in, I'll just be in bed moaning. I'm not a very stoic sick person. Are you more of a stoic sick person?
I'm more of a stoic sick person, Zeke. I actually, I'm definitely the kind of person that probably, this is not great to admit, but this kind of pretends that I'm not sick for a while.
Yeah.
Just like, whatever. I just try to power through it. My wife, on the other hand, she's quite the boner. She's like, she's wailing if she gets sick. So we're very different in that respect. So
yeah, I'm the wailer. My wife is the stoic one. So there you go.
There you go.
But I'm feeling much better. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about parenting to get off things. Okay. So when did you get your parenting badge? You understand what I'm going to say that? Like, what's the first time that you're like, yeah, I earned this badge today. I'm officially a parent.
Wow. My oldest is 13, so it's got to be a little bit of ways back. But maybe a year ago or 2 years ago now, we were going to visit my wife's friends in Salt Lake City, and my wife went out like 3 or 4 days in advance. And then I had to take my kids on I think 5:30 a.m. flight out of Philly to Salt Lake City, the three of them.
Okay.
The 3 kids.
Yeah. All by yourself.
All by myself.
All by yourself.
And that felt like if I already had my parenting badge, but if I got like an extra badge after that, maybe that would be it. If I could think of a more recent example.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring up flights because I earned my parenting badge on a flight as well. But I feel like a lot of parents talk about bodily fluids when they earn their parenting badge. And so I had to clean up very, very, very bad diarrhea on an airplane flight back from vacation when I had 3 of my kids with me. Jess was there, but I was sandwiched in between 2 of my kids. I won't say which one. I won't embarrass them. But it was during the times where we would lug all the car seats with us. We would fly. So we had all the car seats, and one of my kids had very voluminous diarrhea at 10,000 feet, and it filled up the car seat, and it was so bad, so incredibly bad, that the flight attendants didn't really know how bad it was until they came up to me and they saw it. They gave me one of those red hazmat bags.
Yes.
And I had to after I got done cleaning up the car seat in the bathroom, they stuffed that car seat in a hazmat bag and locked the bathroom from the outside for the rest of the flight. And they gave me a free drink. They're like, "Do you need a drink?"
And it must have been above and beyond if they're giving you free drinks.
They gave me. They said, "I said, give me a vodka and a Diet Coke and leave me alone." And that's exactly what there were no questions asked. That to me was the day I earned my parenting badge when I cleaned up diarrhea at 10,000 feet. So, yeah,
that's a very distinct memory, I'm sure.
Yes. So that's rounding out our parenting badge segment. All right, moving on to a little bit about what you do at Pfizer. So what type of AI is Pfizer utilizing, and how are you helping to manage it?
Well, AI, I think, has become present across all industries at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Pfizer is using it in a number of different ways, like clinical trial, or clinical kind of study design, identifying molecules in terms of providing patients with tools to identify disease, all through the life cycle of the drug. In terms of my role, when we first started to use AI, I got involved with trying to think about what kind of guardrails and policies we needed in place. Like AI is going to be used across the board by lots of different people. So we need kind of rules of the road that folks are going to be able to understand to make sure that they use AI in an ethical way. And I think that that's kind of been what I've been involved in, both Pfizer and then the International Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association, which is a kind of a global trade association that Pfizer and many other companies are involved in.
And how did you get into the AI space?
That's a good question.
How did you become interested to say, hey, I want to get into this space?
I was part of a working group on innovative technology. This was a number of years ago, and we were looking at data and AI ethics as an area to kind of expand in. And so kind of taking that from there, I brought that, what we were doing there, into Pfizer.
So you were kind of ahead of the curve. You were involved in the AI space, and then Pfizer started utilizing you. Said, hey, I've already been there, so let me help you out with compliance issues.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to proclaim to be like the most, far-seeing person out there. But yeah, I think I was a little bit ahead, especially before the Gen AI explosion. This is all kind of before that happened. Obviously, when Gen AI has come to the scene, it's even more additional areas of kind of risk are out there. And it's gotten so big at this point that there's a whole team now at Pfizer, kind of separate from what I do now, that just deals with AI risk. So just it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And we'll probably continue to do so.
Well, thanks for explaining what you do at Pfizer in the AI department.
No problem.
And we'll play a game a little bit later to show that sometimes AI can hurt people and why it's important that you do what you do. All right, so moving on, we're going to talk a little about DCLMN, the Democratic Committee of Lower Merion and Narberth. And I just wanted you to tell everyone, give a brief explanation of the organizational structure of DCLMN and how you were elected as chairperson.
DCLMN is a community-based organization, right? So you have Lower Merion is made up or divided into 46 precincts. So that's your neighborhood where you vote, small area, couple blocks. Each of those areas elects 2 committee people, and you do so every 4 years in the spring of the year that we elect the governor of Pennsylvania. So the next time that will happen is 2026. Then once that happens, the organization gets together to have a kind of an organizational meeting where they elect a new chair. And so all those committee people then elect a chair. A chair could be a committee person or a non-committee person. And then that chair will get elected along with 3 vice chairs. So we kind of divide our township is pretty big, right? We're the 10th biggest municipality, I think, in the state or something like that. And then we have a treasurer and a secretary. So all those officers are elected at that organizational meeting, as well as a number of what we call subcommittee chairmen or chair people. We do a lot of our work through the subcommittees. You're one of our subcommittee chair people, Zeke, for finance, but communications, kind of voter registration, and a lot of the day-to-day work that happens in the committee are done through those subcommittees. And so all those subcommittee chairs are normally elected at that organizational meeting as well. So you have that kind of officers and subcommittee chairs, and they make up kind of an executive committee. And then we have those what amounts to be 92 committee people. That's the body of the organization.
And we're located in southeastern Pennsylvania, but there are similar organizations all over Pennsylvania, correct? There are Democratic committees all over Pennsylvania. There are chair people just like you who are involved in the local politics of that region.
Yeah, so how it works really in Pennsylvania, at least, is that we're at the lowest level, essentially, like municipal organizations. And a municipal organization could be one township, basically DCLMN, which is the Democratic Committee of Lower Merion and Narberth, is just Lower Merion and Narberth, so a township and a borough. In other places, it may be a number of townships that are connected together. And so that's kind of the lowest level. In Philadelphia, it's by wards, and same thing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, you say the lowest, right? But I mean, that's just in hierarchy, but they're all very important. I mean, what you do at these levels, the type of officials that we help get elected influence our everyday lives.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
certainly not
understand
trying
why it's
to.
the
I'm
low.
certainly not trying to diminish the organization that I chaired by the
Yes.
people that we work with. We're
No, no,
certainly
no, no.
we're very mighty
Yes.
and very important in terms of the
Yes.
overall structure of the party. But
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of if you think about it as a pyramid building up, the municipal ones are the smallest, the base of the pyramid, and the county parties in the middle, and then obviously the state parties.
Right. Right. Yeah. I just want people to understand, how these moving parts exist in where they live. There are people just like you who are elected officials, who are volunteer essentially, and you're helping to get people elected into their various districts that are going to help their everyday lives. So thanks for
The
explaining that.
municipal chairs, community people,
Mm-hmm.
anyone involved in the municipal parties, it's all volunteer. No one's getting
Mm-hmm.
paid for any of this work for
Right.
certain. And the same thing with the county parties. People are not, they might have an executive director or one or two employees of the biggest county parties, but most of them do not. So it's by and large a volunteer kind of organization, top to bottom. People putting their time in. In addition to their job and their kids and everything else going on, for sure.
Thank you for explaining the organizational structure of DCLMN. We're going to move on to a little bit of family-oriented questions. So you enjoy skiing with your family, correct?
I do. Yeah, I have a good time skiing with them.
So what are some of your favorite places to ski in Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, I do really like Blue Mountain, which is in the Lehigh Valley. They have long runs. They probably the steepest runs out there. It does get a little crowded there sometimes. I also enjoy going to Jack Frost and Big Boulder, which are up in closer to Mount Pocono area.
Okay.
And then Montage is also a good option up in Scranton, right near Scranton. Those are probably the main ones I've been to. I went to Elk once as a kid. I haven't been there in a long time. Same with Shawnee. I haven't been there in a long time. So I can't really speak to them. I've never been to some of the ones in the western part of the state, like Seven Springs. People really like that. It's closer to Pittsburgh. I haven't really been out there, so I can't really speak to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not much of a skier, to be honest. I tried skiing once when I was I was doing research before I went to medical school, and I just really took a bad fall. And I'm probably lucky I didn't tear anything in my knee, but that was the end of that. I probably should have taken some lessons first, but I didn't. I was like, oh, what's the big deal? I can go skiing. And
so how old were you when you tried to do this?
I was probably 22. I think it was 22 years old.
I would say it's a little difficult to start when you're the older you start, the harder it's going to be to ski. Yeah. I think people who are generally really good skiers usually start when they are younger.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started skiing when I was a kid. My wife did not. And, she's tried off and on, get some lessons here and there, but, it's definitely more difficult.
Thanks for giving some hot spots to ski in Pennsylvania. So let's talk about the elections in 2025. There are a lot of really important ones. Can you give a rundown of some of those positions?
So there are a number of different offices up for election in 2025. In 2025, in Pennsylvania at least, it's what's called a municipal election. So local offices in Marion, that means school board members, commissioners. Narberth, that means mayor. Narberth Council, in both places, tax collector. And that's the same across the Commonwealth. But certainly, there's no state or federal statewide or federal elections, for governor. What there are elections for in statewide are for judges. What we have though in the fall will be what's called a retention election. Judges are elected in Pennsylvania, and they're elected for a 10-year term. At the end of that 10-year term, they don't run against somebody else for that same seat, but they run for what's called retention. And retention is a yes or no. Should we retain this judge? Most cases, people running for retention are retained. We have 3 Democratic Supreme Court justices up for retention in 2025. If they were to lose and the Republicans were then to replace them, the Supreme Court could get close or would flip to the Republicans. So these are crucial elections to make sure that we retain our majority of the Supreme Court. It's not that often that folks have lost those retention elections, but if there's a concerted effort to defeat these guys at the retention, we're going to have to organize and make sure that we're ready to make sure that people understand to vote yes on retention.
And we obviously know what the consequences are of having a conservative majority at the Supreme Court level of the United States. And so we don't want that to trickle down into the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Correct. Yeah. So lots at stake. We have some hardworking, really solid jurists there now. we don't want to lose our, those folks to be replaced by MAGA extremists, because that's who the Republicans would put up to replace them.
I would like to try and have some of those judges on this podcast, so stay tuned.
I think that would be a great idea.
Thanks for talking to me about the elections coming up in 2025. All right, so let's talk a little bit about video games. Do you know anything about Fortnite? Do your kids talk about Fortnite at all?
They did play it for a little while. Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Yeah, not so much anymore now.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, my kids are really into Well, I guess one of my kids is really into Fortnite right now. And they have these different seasons.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. I think it's kind of entertaining to watch. Right now, it's Winterfest, and they have Snoop Dogg and Mariah Carey and Eminem, and they have V-Bucks. Right. Yeah, I don't even understand the currency is V-Bucks. But I asked my kid, what does the V stand for? They didn't even know. So I have no idea what V. You think like
all I know is I spent a lot of money on V-Bucks when my kids were in Fortnite. So
to get the skins and everything.
I don't really know what it stood for either. I just know it cost me a lot of money.
I know. Do you ever have you ever watch it? You ever have a vision of like what your season would be, Jeff? Like if you could have like a Jeff Scott.
The winter thing sounds pretty good. Yeah, I don't know.
Fest.
Yeah, Winterfest.
Why not?
The winter and Snoop Dogg. That sounds good. I don't know.
It sounds good to you.
Yeah,
I think I'd have I like fall. I'd probably have like a fall fest.
Fall would be nice too. Fall would be,
I think I'd want to have it like Matrix themed or something.
Matrix themed. Okay,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it's been done already.
Not quite sure I've thought that deeply about it. Zeke,
I don't know.
But,
when I'm staring mindlessly at the kids playing Fortnite, I imagine these things. So
I usually try to they usually play in the basement, so I kind of keep them. I kept away. Yeah.
You keep away from them. Understood.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking to me about some Fortnite.
Yeah. They were usually talking with their friends. They usually were on some kind of video chat while they were playing Fortnite, and they were all like playing together. Yeah. So if I were there, they'd be like, "Don't talk to me. You're gonna mess up. Or don't say anything. Oh, my friends,
don't. You're gonna get me killed. Don't talk."
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Exactly. All right, so let's get back to some of the elections. If someone is interested in running for school board or county commissioner or some of the other offices you were talking about in Montgomery County, how can they get in contact with you to get more information?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's easy. I mean, I think the easiest thing to do would be just to email me, jeffreyscott@gmail.com. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
So folks should just reach out. I mean, first of all, I'd say we obviously consider endorsing candidates as a local committee. But we can only endorse candidates who decide to run. I think some people think that we actually find the candidates and recruit them. We really don't. I mean, we're really trying to get as many people into the process as possible who might bring something to the table in terms of whether it's school board or Lower Merion Township Commissioner or whatever office. We also have tax collector up for election and all kinds of other esoteric offices that maybe people don't think about. And so what we want to do first and foremost is just to get a lot of qualified, good people into the process. So we as a committee have the ability to choose from really talented people. We have a lot of talented people in Lower Merion, which is great.
Yeah.
These are again volunteer positions. So, we want to do right by the community, and with our endorsements, meaning we have as many people involved as possible.
Well, I mean, I hope that people are going to get more civically engaged because these local elections are important and they're consequential. So I hope that if anyone sees this, that they will reach out to you if they're interested in running for some of these positions, and that they'll want to work hard.
Yeah,
just like you are for the committee. Which thank you very much for doing that.
That would be great. I appreciate it, Zeke. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for talking about how to get involved with you. And I assume there are other people around the state. They can also contact their local Democratic committee if they want to run for their local election.
Yeah, if you don't live in you're listening to this and you don't live in Lower Merion or Narberth, but you want to get involved, I think the first place to look at is probably websites. Whether your municipal party is a website or your county party, start there or call them up. Again, remember, a lot of those folks are also volunteers, so they might, you might leave them a voicemail and they might get back to you for a day or two. But, this is the time to do it if you're thinking about it. The petition period starts in February, but now is the kind of time to start really thinking about it, even, start talking to people if you're really interested.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Pfizer again and what you do there. What was it like working at Pfizer during the COVID pandemic?
I think it was kind of inspirational. I think everyone was very... and not that they aren't all the time. The focus, this laser focus and mission kind of feeling about what everyone did I mean, a lot of people are there because, our impact on patients and wanting to, help patients and make a difference for folks. But I think that was just like times 10 during the pandemic. Once it was like, yes, we think we have a vaccine, and we are on a lightning fast timeline to get it out to the public to save lives and in the pandemic. I think it was just like, wow, like that's everyone kind of like why they might want to work for a pharmaceutical company. I think it made people feel very proud to work there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was very consequential, the work that they did, and it saved millions of lives. So that must have been really cool to be a part of that.
Indeed. Not that I could take very much credit for anything in terms of the actual vaccine, but it was definitely an exciting time to be there.
You're still contributing in some fashion. Well, thanks for talking about that. So let's talk about some near-death experiences. Have you ever had a near-death experience?
I think, yes. I think like what grade I was in, maybe 10. It must have been like 11th because I was driving. My parents' car, and it stalled out in actually the shopping center where the McDonald's is in Ardmore.
Okay.
And this guy was behind me that's like laying on his horn. And I was like, like the transmission was blown. I could not move. So finally I get out of the car and I open the door. And at that moment, the guy decided to give up and guns it around me. And I like slammed up against the car to avoid being hit. And he like basically almost took the door off the car. Yeah. So it was, I mean, close enough.
Close enough? Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. And he hit and run. He left, but I saw that guy's license plate and the cops.
You got it. Okay. And they got him.
It was some like 90-year-old guy who shouldn't have been driving.
All right. Well, mine is from my childhood. I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we had a 30-acre plot of land. And one of my many responsibilities was feeding the horses. We had 3 draft horses. And so I had to bring buckets of grain to them out in the field, no matter where they were. The field was like sectioned off. And so I had to go out there every day and like walk out and bring them their grains and their vitamins. And there were little streams running throughout the fields that they would drink from. Well, there was this flash storm, like a flash, like rainstorm. And these little streams were turned into like rivers, essentially. And I looked outside and I turned to my parents. I was like, oh, it looks kind of dicey out there. Like, nope, the horses need their vitamins. You got to go. So here I think I must have been 10 years old.
Wow.
Maybe 10 years old.
I wish my 10-year-old, I wish my kids that age were doing stuff like feeding.
No, it was not enjoyable. Not the best memories of my life as I'm telling a near-death experience. So I'm carrying these buckets, these 3 buckets, and I'm wearing my dad's boots. So I'm 10 years old wearing my dad's knee-high boots, and I'm trudging through the fields. And in order to get to where the horses were, I had to hop over this little tributary and then walk up around the street. And there was this gigantic manhole pipe that ran underneath the road, that's like 5 feet, like these huge pipes. And normally the stream is like a couple inches deep. And now there's only a couple inches of airspace, like in the pipe. And so I set the buckets on the other side of the little tributary and I put the buckets down and I hop across thinking that this little patch of grass is ground, but it was just floating on the water. And so I fall into the water and the boots immediately fill up with water. I start getting pulled under towards this gigantic manhole, this gigantic thing. And so at the last second, I reach up and I grab onto the top of it. And I'm like staring down this like rushing river underneath me. And I just pull myself off to the side. The boots are gone. They were like ripped off my feet. And I'm just like huddled up crying in the middle of this storm in the field. I leave the buckets there and I just trudge back to the house, which is like a quarter mile. And I just walk inside of my mom, loses her mind. And she was upset. And, I was more scared that I lost my dad's boots than I almost got sucked into like this river and drowned. So
losing your dad's boots at age could be traumatic. Yeah.
Well,
it's almost drowning, but yeah.
I know that's some childhood trauma there too. But yeah, that was my near-death experience, almost drowning on the farm.
That's a kind of dramatic story.
I know. Well, I saved it for you, Jeff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So let's talk about AI blunders, because we talked about earlier, how AI has come into the fray with many, many companies. and how now we're going to play a game about how artificial intelligence has actually not done such a great job. Okay, so your job is to guess which companies this happened to. So let's play AI Blunders. All right, so which fast food chain ended its AI experiment after a slew of social media videos showed confused and frustrated customers trying to get an AI to understand their orders?
I'd go with Burger King.
Well, it's adjacent. McDonald's.
Okay,
yeah,
close to that.
So that's pretty darn close. So McDonald's, yeah, they had to stop their AI order system. All right, so which social media AI chatbot falsely accused NBA star Klay Thompson of throwing bricks through windows of multiple houses in Sacramento, California?
I have no idea. I'm interested to hear. I'm going to say Facebook.
It was Grok from X.
Grok.
Yeah, Grok.
Okay.
Grok is the AI generated bot on X.
Okay, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with Grok.
No,
I don't use X that much. It had nothing to do with the recent election. I was never a big person.
And it's fine. Yeah, so that was Grok. All right, moving on. Which city utilized an AI chatbot that falsely claimed business owners could take a cut of their workers' tips, fire workers who complain of sexual harassment, and serve food that had been nibbled on by rodents? Yeah.
Hopefully not Marion.
No. Which major city?
I'm going to say Houston.
New York City.
Really?
Yeah. The chatbot is called My City, and it still remains online.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully with different answers. Hopefully someone's curated the answers a little bit better, fed it some more, trained it a little bit better.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right. So which online real estate marketplace had to cut 25% of the company's workforce, about 2,000 employees, due to home flipping woes as the result of the error rate in the AI algorithm it used to predict home prices?
I'm going to say Zillow.
You got it. Zillow.
All right.
That was a pretty big AI blunder. All right. All right, here's the last one. Which computer and technology company released an AI chatbot called Tay onto Twitter? It was called Twitter then in 2016, but it was pulled after only 16 hours when it began posting overtly racist, misogynistic, and anti-Semitic tweets.
Yeah, I should know this one.
Which computer and technology company?
I think it was Google.
Microsoft?
No, it was Microsoft.
It's Microsoft, yeah. Okay. Interestingly enough, the predecessor of Tay was released by Microsoft in China 2 years earlier, and it had conversations with like 40 million people. It didn't have any issues. Microsoft didn't take into account that Twitter users might make racist comments at Tay, and then Tay might incorporate them into its own tweets. So, yeah, those are some AI blunders. So
another human in the loop. A lot of human in the loop. Less like that would have maybe mitigated some of those errors.
Yeah, or maybe someone like you overseeing the project.
No, well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Shameless plug.
All right, well, thanks for playing AI Blunders. Let's move on to some more childhood trauma. Which movie traumatized you as a kid? I feel like everybody has to have a movie that traumatized you.
Yeah, Goonies.
The Goonies traumatized you?
So I went to see it in the theater.
Okay.
Right, so I'm old enough to have gone to see it in the theater, but I was pretty young. I might have been 6, 7. Okay. And Chunk scared the bejesus out of me.
Chunk?
Yeah, when he's like chained up at the beginning. Yeah.
Sloth. Oh, you mean Sloth?
Not Chunk.
Yeah, Sloth. I was like, Chunk. How can you be scared of Chunk?
That's right. Chunk's the kid. Sorry, I meant Sloth.
Yeah, Sloth. I could see that.
Yeah, I don't think I made it through the whole movie actually.
Did you ever watch it when you're older and appreciate it
for
the lovely movie that it is?
Yeah. Don't think I appreciated it whenever I saw it. So I don't know what year it came out, but I must have been pretty young.
Yeah. For me, it's the Never-Ending Story.
Okay.
The Never-Ending Story. It was the
some scary moments there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was the horse drowning scene. That really, I wasn't ready for that, Jack. Yeah. It's just like, why do you have to hurt the horse?
It goes into the bog, right?
Yeah.
It sinks down in the bog.
Sinks down into the mud, and he's screaming.
I can't say the horse.
That messed me up for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really messed me up. Well, I'm glad we can share our childhood
scary
trauma
stuff
together.
In the Never-Ending Story.
I know.
Probably saw that in the theater too. I don't know what year that came out, but
I definitely didn't. I saw that. I don't remember where I saw it, but when I did, that really threw me. It was difficult to settle down after that.
Okay.
All right. Well, I want to talk about these upcoming elections again. What else can people do in our community to support Democrats running for local office?
Well, I think first and foremost, get involved, whether it's, 1 hour a month or 10 hours a month, whatever time you can give. You could volunteer with us. Like I mentioned before, a lot of the work we do is through the different subcommittees, voter registration, issues and policy, communications, working with campaigns. These are all different subcommittees. So even if you're not a committee person, you could get involved in those. So that's something you can get involved in right away. If you don't live in Lower Merion, your local municipal party or county party probably needs volunteers to do lots of stuff. But I'm sure that there's someone who there's doors to be knocked, envelopes to be stuffed, events to be planned, even run yourself. There's lots of ways to get involved.
Yeah, and make donations, to your local Democratic committee
make
as well.
donations as well.
Right.
Don't forget about our spring mixer.
That's right.
Anyone who's from Lower Marion or not from Lower Marion, you're welcome to come to the spring mixer and donate some well-needed funds to our committee.
Well, thanks for talking about that. All right, so I have 2 more questions for you. All right,
okay.
What gives you hope?
And there's lots of stuff that's still in front of me, so I always have hope that tomorrow's going to be just as good or better than today.
And then what plans do you have to get yourself through these next few years? I mean, obviously you're the chairperson of the committee, so that's a big part of it. But what else are you going to do? Because a lot's going to be happening.
Yeah, I think just continue to work at what we've been doing. Just continue to get people involved and not get overly focused on, I need to oppose everything Trump does. I don't think that that's the most helpful thing in the world, right? Mm-hmm. I think just not being Trump or just being against Trump is not enough. And so I'd much rather focus my time on what are we going to be for? What are we going to offer people going forward? Because that's what's going to win elections. That's what's going to maybe get beyond 50-50 elections, is to have a vision that people could rally around. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go do it. If they feel like they need to go protest or do this or do that, that's fine. It's understandable. But that's not what I think is going to get me through the next couple of years. Through the next couple of years is really putting our heads down, doing the harder work, maybe.
Right.
And really figuring out what are we offering people in the long run.
Yeah.
How do we, and really, Zeke, what I think always has inspired me to be involved in Democratic politics, right, is to give people the vision of opportunity and allow people to see what they could become in what is clearly the greatest country in the world, and having that vision and being able to articulate it. That's what's going to get us through the next 4 years, not just simply saying, oh, well, why did you vote for this guy? You thought he's going to lower the price of bags. Now what do you think that he didn't do that? That's not going to convince anyone that we have a great answer to anything. Right. It's just going to make us look more condescending.
I agree. Well, that's why we have to have these conversations and showcase what people within our communities who are Democrats are doing to move the needle forward.
I don't pretend I know all the answers, by the way, but I think we need to have those conversations.
I agree. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining me here today. I really appreciate your time and for everything you're doing for Lower Marion and Narberth.
All right, Zeke, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. This has been great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me here on the Zekely Podcast. Stay hopeful and get involved. And until next time, let's keep building a stronger Pennsylvania together.